in Dubai, the general precedent is that real estate is on the rise, that we're seeing a very, very bullish market.
Real estate is a big investment. It's not a liquid investment. You can't sell one room out of your house, right? You have to sell the entire property. So it is. So one has to be careful about taking the bet. And if you invested in a wrong kind of a property, you might be stuck into it, and then you have to sell it as a distress at a loss. So that's why, and this is where the role of advisor comes. Choose your advisor wisely. I'm not saying it is me who you should be choosing, but whoever is your advisor, right kind of advisor can create a lot of wealth for people in real estate.
Welcome everybody to a new episode of TCDD. I'm your host, Jennifer George, and with me today in the studio, I have a very interesting guest. Interesting because here is a man who started off his career in the National Defense Academy in India, moved very quickly to journalism, and is now in real estate in Dubai, the world's city of gold. It's an interesting life with a very interesting story and even more interesting insights. I'm going to be picking Mr. Ritu Kant Ojha's brains on real estate, how markets are changing, and what you, a buyer, leaser, or even just a curious reader of the news, should look out for when you think about the fine. Hello, Mr. Ritu Kant.
Thanks for inviting me, Jenny.
Of course, it's our pleasure. So, hi Ritu Kant.
Hello, Jenny.
How are you doing?
All good. Had a fantastic day.
Considering you are from India and you've had a very interesting journey in India, starting with the NDA, which is a very coveted position that you've held and you've served in, I'm very curious, what was your time like in the NDA, and how was it like transitioning from the life in NDA to the life of a civilian? Because I would imagine it's not the easiest transition in the world.
Yeah, the transition is both ways. It is difficult. So moving from a civil life, nobody in my family was into army or defense forces. I was a pampered child. So from there to NDA stands for National Defense Academy. It is a city, Pune in India, and it has a place called as Khadagwasla. So National Defense Academy is located there, and if you go to National Defense Academy, you'll see a big stone which says that NDA makes men from boys.
Uh-huh.
So I think that sums it up. When you go there, within less than a week, you start understanding that it's a serious place to be in. And while many of your batch course-mates and schoolmates are enjoying their life, civil life in colleges, you are going through a very, very rigorous life and rigorous training. It was good, fun time. When I came back, I spent almost 3 years there. When I came back, it was definitely difficult adjusting, but there are certain things which are part of your inherent character which don't change. So still my batchmates are my buddies. I met them. I recently went to London. I met them after 23 years. And we bonded like immediately within
like no time has passed.
Yes, within seconds. So that's how it is. My hairs are still like any defense guy. So yes, it does get into your DNA. But to answer your question, it is difficult to adapt after coming back from India. But then even the armed forces guy, they get retired and they have to adjust in civil, because this is the actual life all of us have to get in.
Right. But I'm very curious, when you say that, it is a difficult adjustment for anybody, is it difficult because of the immediate change that you experience from the lifestyle that you probably have to tweak a little bit or a lot in most cases? Or is it more so getting out of a certain kind of environment which has shaped your thinking at a very young age and then having to deal with a very different real world? Because you're still in the real world in the NDA and when you're in the forces, but it's a very different kind of real world that civilians have to go through. And when you get into a job or when you get into a certain kind of profession, which we will of course touch on. But I'm very curious, is that the difficulty?
It's a very interesting question. How do I answer that? Um, so in NDA or in armed forces in general, which I did not get to become part of it because I moved out of NDA doing training itself. But then everything is regimented, everything is regularized, everything is disciplined, everything goes through a certain format, and it is kind of templated, right? So rigorous, disciplined, but templated, right? Uh, uh, and uh, and in armed forces, you know who your enemy is, right? You're trained to deal with your enemy. When you move to civil life, I mean, I don't want to criticize that, but you don't know who your enemy is. I mean, I did not go through it, but in general, I'm saying that it may sound philosophical, but that is true. The guy you're hiring in job might become your enemy. Somebody in your family might be your enemy, your neighbor itself, right? So that ways, I think army life, defense life is still much more pure, for want of better word, and straightforward. The camaraderie is very different level. You value a lot of basic things in life much more, because during your training is so rigorous. You value your food. You understand what is sacrifice, right? How people sacrifice for you and how you sacrifice for other people, and the value of team spirit. You learn basic leadership skills. You learn basic aspects of living, surviving when you don't have enough. So a lot of I can rant about it, talk about it for a very long time. But when benefit of the question you've asked, I think that it's a much straightforward, simpler, tougher, but straightforward life. But civil life is much more complex and layered. So, and that is why many of my friends who are part of special forces and very decorated officers, they take a little bit of time in getting adjusted when they move out. Right? It is complex.
And it's very interesting that you said that it is complex adjusting to the life of a civilian. Also considering that right after you left NDA, you actually joined journalism and the media industry, which is far more complex than any civilian life. And it's noisy, it's chaotic, it's dynamic. How do you take the discipline and the rigor that you've probably instilled in yourself, or the NDA has instilled in you, in such a fast-paced industry like media?
So you've done a very good research, by the way. When I moved into television, I think that at that point of time, several new channels were coming up. Star News, NDTV was a production house. It became a new channel altogether. And it was a explosion of new news channels in India. And digital it was in a slightly nascent stage, but it's also coming up. So that was a period of explosive growth, and there was a lot of competitive spirit. I remember as a young reporter in Mumbai, we were fighting for bites, struggling for bites. We used to find different ways. I remember one of my cub reporters took a bite of a senior banker in washroom. He took him to a washroom and took a bite. He came out and uploaded and say that I did the breaking news first, and those were the crazy times. But I feel that rigor and discipline, which the training in NDA really helped, because journalism is all about probing and asking questions. Number one, number two, digging deeper. So digging deeper is easier said than done. How much do you dig?
Yeah.
Right. How deep is it?
Right. How deep can you dig?
How deep can you dig? And where does it end? Because you're as good as your last story. You've done your story. How much time you're going to spend, because you're a salaried employee at the end of the day. You have to move on. So those are the aspects where it. I think NDA helps you to become resilient. So the resilience actually helped, and some of those early years were actually stressful. I think I remember 2008. I was in CNBC. That point of time, Lehman crisis happened, and we were part of the newsroom. We could see everything happening live, stock markets flashing live, and we used to spend a very long time in the newsrooms. So I think And because we were a little naive and we were young at that point of time, a lot of reading up happened, and we used to read a lot, used to speak to a lot of experts, and this is where sometimes you give up on your patients. At how much do you want to get into it, because you want to move on to another story. I think this is where that training helped to stick on, be patient, stick with the story, and that really helped me a lot, and that shaped me in my financial journalism career. Because financial journalism was a lot about numbers. You have to go through a lot of data,
Right.
sift through a lot of data, and most of the companies are not telling the clear picture, right? So how do you get into those details? Nobody is going to tell you. They'll serve you a nice coffee because you are a journalist, but they're not going to talk about
The realities.
realities. So how do you get those? How do you develop your sources? How do you keep your sources happy and motivated? So those are things which requires patience, resilience, discipline, rigor, and I think that is where a little bit help I receive from NDA training.
I'm very curious now that you've mentioned sources specifically as journalists. I think that is a big part of our job, maintaining relationships with personalities, companies, entities, governments, so on and so forth. And it's a lifelong endeavor that we embark on the day we start at our first gig. How do you maintain a good relationship? And I'm saying good very loosely because everybody's idea of a good relationship with their sources or with their clients is subjective. But how do you maintain relationships that lead to probably the most fruitful outcome in terms of the most interesting story, in terms of having a client who's also happy in terms of the quotes or the bites that they've given? How do you maintain that balance?
Brilliant question. So whether it is a witness who comes to the front and goes to police, or whether it's a source, there is certain level of motivation everyone has, right? So now, I remember in our journalism training, we were told by senior reporters, senior journalists, veterans, that there are always several aspects to any issue. Let's say a murder has happened, or let's say any crime has happened. There'll be one side of the story, there'll be other side of the story, there'll be third side of the story, and then there could be a very different side of the story. So you need to understand different aspects of the story, and everybody who is sitting on the other side of the table will have a different perspective on it. And as a journalist, you have to absorb all of that. And once you, I mean, it's a very elaborate kind of a subject to talk about. But then I think it starts from if you really on the ground and look at people, start speaking to people, you'll find somebody who is motivated to talk about. Motivations could be very different, but finding source is not, I think, very difficult. I think keeping that source intact and ensuring the safety of the source, I think that is the biggest challenge most journalists face. Because you don't want that in a drunken state at some point of time, that let's say you are with some friend and you are drunk, or you are gone to a party and by mistake you spell out the name of the source.
Yes.
Right? That guy might be shot next day. So those are risks. It will not always happen, but then anything can happen, right? So I have had cases where peons gave out information, or the drivers gave out information. I had journalist friends who figured out from the security guard, right? And or sometimes the ex-wife, or even the children.
The world is a small place.
Yeah, children, they have dispute with their father on property. They are interested parties because they want their father to go to jail, so that they get share in their property. So there are various kind of motivations. It's not a very fair thing to talk about too much on a public platform, but I feel that once somebody has shared the information in good faith, you need to protect that person. That is one message I strongly want to give. If there is any budding journalist who's listening to it, that's very important. It should not happen that once you are done with your source, than you, because you might be offered incentives at a later stage by the person affected party to give out that name.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very, very careful there.
It's interesting because I wanted to see if we could probably draw a parallel to your current occupation, which is in the real estate sector. And as we know, Dubai is the city of gold, and here is where real estate flourishes. And you are also a part of this ecosystem now in a very, very successful industry country. So I'm very curious, when it comes to maintaining clients, do you at, Proact Luxury Real Estate adopt a similar attitude towards how client relations are maintained? Because we've discussed this. Real estate is a very fast-paced industry as well. People come and go, houses are bought and leased, property is bought and sold. It's transient. How do you maintain those relationships and make sure that you've gone the extra mile probably, but without going too far as a real estate broker?
I think the where I would like to focus, we can do an entire podcast on this one particular question. So to keep it short, I think that any advisor, whether you are a mutual fund advisor or equity advisor or a crypto advisor, any advisor where investments are concerned, where based on your advice, somebody is taking out money and investing, there is a level of fiduciary responsibility. Right. So I take that very seriously. And before client relations will start once the person becomes my client. Before that, I think if somebody comes to me, I try and understand which life stage they are in. They might be two siblings, right? Maybe twins in a family, but they might have a very different life journey altogether. So a lot of brokers have a templated approach. Same kind of pitch given to every other client. Man or woman, senior citizen, young guy, Australian, Indian, but then everybody is in a different stage altogether. So I find it a little funny sometimes, but then you need to understand, you need to sit with the client, spend some time. Clients will not ready to spend that level of time because they're used to brokers sending them information on WhatsApp or email.
Right.
But you need to, and this is where again the patience pays off. You know, to make the client understand that, it is important to have a conversation. I always try and have a conversation with the client first. Video conversation is best. Otherwise, at least an audio conversation. No, so not voice notes, but actually conversation.
Right.
And then try and understand which life situation he or she is in. Like, for example, there's one of my clients I was speaking to. He wanted to invest 5 million dirhams, right? Initially, he said that I want to get me a villa. When I spoke to him, I figured out that, best suited strategy would be to get him 3 studios and 1 apartment, right? Because he wanted, one of his sons is studying in UK. He wants to move to Dubai. I said he can use either the studio or the apartment, which will most likely get delivered when he will move here. So, and rest of the other investments will generate income through rentals, and those rentals he can again use to buy more properties if you want to expand his portfolio. So I think empathy is, again, I'll use that word again. I think empathy is very important. You should understand that clients are going through different stages. He might be doing a job, he might be in a business. He is not sitting on the tons of information you are sitting on about this market. So share that information. Don't withhold that information just to get a sale. Even if it means that sometimes you'll lose out on the sale at that particular point of time, but that guy will remember you and will come back to you at when he's ready. But then try and be honest with your advice is what I try and practice.
You mentioned empathy, and if I understand correctly, a lot of real estate brokers in this market do share quite a lot of information with their clients. Yes, they might have that very cookie cutter mold template which they serve to every single client. But of course, these conversations are something that naturally do transpire. Like when you go to see a couple of properties, you spend almost the entire day with your broker. So naturally, conversations occur, interests, preferences, they come to play. But I'm very interested, how does this empathy translate in the aftercare in real estate? Because once papers are signed and delivered, once the house is given to your client, once they're happy, where does the real estate broker stand then? Where does empathy play then in this job?
So great question. So before I answer that, I would also quickly want to answer the first part of it. It is important that I bring out that aspect. See, deeper conversations and active listening. So going and showing a particular apartment and having the conversation is what you're talking about is more of a transactional conversation, which of course you will do.
Right.
But trying to understand the journey of a client, where he or she is in, and then changing the advice and adapting the advice according to that. I think that is something which is important. It requires a little bit of patience, reading up insights, reading up reports, sitting on some kind of a data understanding, having a conversation with different developers to understand how their projects are different. Now, coming to your key question, I mean, I can't say what others do. What we try and do is to handhold our clients as much as possible. So once they have invested, we create a file in our system with all the details of their, birthday, anniversary, their family, people, data about their family, and I mean, it's a small thing. I don't know if I should talk about it or not. But then send flowers on their birthdays, anniversary. They're just staying in touch, right? And also giving them that comfort that because they are overseas, they should not think that nobody is there to take care of it. Because trust me, there's a lot of anxiety when people invest from overseas. They are not sure that what will happen to their property. How will they find tenant? Right? How will the tenant behave? What if tenant does something to their property?
Right.
What are the options? What are the legal options they have? And things like that, right? So what we try and do is that we stay connected and we address some of these core queries which people usually have, and then also give them time and make them comfortable that their investment in Dubai is secure, and we are there to take care of them. And sometimes when they travel, spend time with them as well, take them to their property. We create videos of the project updates, send it to them. As an add-on, I also give a free service for the first rental which they want to take. So these are the small steps so that, basically psychologically the client should feel that, somebody is there in Dubai to take care of it. Even if the person is here, should not be bothered that the sale has happened now nobody's going to take care of the property.
Right. I think when we're talking about selling real estate as opposed to buying real estate, there's a certain kind of impression that's in this market when we think about real estate brokers. They're generally impatient and they're intimidating. And as you very rightly mentioned, probably not as responsible as we would have liked as clients. So in that situation, how does first the broker themselves change this stereotype that prevails in the market? And what should probably clients look for to then decide on the ideal broker?
Very difficult question to answer. See, I think to be fair to this, even the broker community and this country, it's a young country. Right? When you look at mature markets like US, UK, even India for that matter, Australia, the real estate transactions have been happening for a very long time, right? This country has seen this upswing over last 15, 20 years, right? Primarily last 15 years. And now the records are being broken from last 3, 4, 5 years. So I think you are right that there are some issues which I see, which is in every sector. And I think the real estate regulator is the one who would be the better one to look at them and figure out what should be done. But as a responsible part of the ecosystem, I can only say that be mindful of the fiduciary responsibility, and just don't look at sales all the time. Of course, you would, because that's your profession. But then, if that is the primary objective, then you will not understand, or you not realize when you have crossed the line of mis-selling, right? And as a journalist, I have seen this happening a lot in mutual fund and stockbroking. People don't realize, because to get committing, so for example, saying that the market will go up by 20%, your property will appreciate by 20%. You will get a rental return of 12%, 11%, right? And the guy gets a rental return of 7%. He will think that he's shortchanged, right? And then you are also negatively impacting the image of the buy, because that guy that client is going to tell 10 different people that and you're not going to get as much returns as these people claim. I mean, though 7% is also very high compared to all other markets in the world.
Still doesn't hold up to the 12% promise.
Yes, so that is a bit of a challenge. And there's one more thing. I don't know I should say that or not, but since you've asked, let me. So there's also an issue of kickback, right? Now, many brokers do not realize that kickback is not legal, right? So what is kickback? So kickback is, let's say, if I as a broker, I am getting let's say 4% commission from the developer to sell a particular property. I offer 2% back to my client, right? So and so how does the client choose between one broker to another broker? How do I compete? It's easier to say that boss, I will give you 2%.
Right.
It's race to the bottom. Now, another broker will say, okay, I'm losing the client, I'll offer 3%.
So it's like a predatory pricing thing then.
I won't even say predatory pricing is something which is which could be acceptable in certain cases, but this is kickback.
Right.
Right. Kickback across all sectors across the world is considered a kind of a bribery. Right. And there are strict regulations against it. Even in UAE, it's not allowed. Kickbacks are not allowed.
But it's something that's rampant.
I will not say rampant, because I'm not privy to that kind of a data to claim that it is rampant, but it does happen. And I think that that is a big problem, because what happens is that the focus of the client will shift to who is giving that kickback, and who is giving that kickback, whether it is 2%, 3%, rather than thinking about the property is correct or not. So instead of focusing on that 2 million, 3 million, 4 million investment, probably he or she is thinking about that 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 kind of a kickback, right? And this has, as I said, that because I've covered financial services, this was something which was a big problem in insurance industry and financial services industry, and this is a challenge everywhere in the world, right? So I feel that this is something which should be clients also should be aware of, and they should also be aware of that it is this is against the law,
right?
So they should not be engaging in it.
Well, considering that you're sitting on a wealth of information from your financial journalism background, PR, and then now in real estate, I would imagine you have access to a lot of information, a lot of data, which is circulating, changing, evolving as the days go by, as the quarters change. But in Dubai, the general precedent is that real estate is on the rise, that we're seeing a very, very bullish market. People should invest now, and now has been going on since COVID. So when does this now end? When will it not be favorable, probably? Or when is it probably a little bit wiser to move to other financial instruments or investments aside from real estate? I know that you have a background in real estate and you would be biased and say that, real estate is the way to go. But somebody who has the kind of information that you do on other financial tools, do you really think that this bull run is going to last forever?
No, I am of course in real estate and whatever opinion I give can be termed as conflict of interest. But still, I'll give you, since you've asked this question, I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. See, every economy, every culture, every country goes through a phase of explosive growth. I think that UAE is going through that explosive growth now. The challenge is that it has gone through periods of booms and busts, where the properties have crashed and people have burnt fingers, and it was reported widely by media as well. So, which is why there is a perception that at some point of time the market will crash. Now, see, the challenge is that every asset, whichever asset you pick gold. People say gold never comes down. You look at the data. People don't look at data. Look at data, you'll see that it has come down during different periods.
It has its ebbs and flows, yes.
All asset classes. Look at equity. People say in US and in India that the stock markets will keep rising. Now there are a lot of investors which are investing who might burn their fingers if the markets fall. But then every asset class will see some level of correction. This is for sure. And I think what is a healthy curve is the one which has crests and trough, right? Anything which goes secular up or secular down, decline, is not a healthy curve, right? So that will always create stress in the system. So the correction, the so-called correction and dip will come, right? But it will again go up.
So I'm guessing those are cyclical.
It's not cyclical and nobody knows about it. See, the thing is that, there are a lot of pundits and gurus I also see on YouTube who say that the market will keep going up. It will not.
Right.
There are also videos who claim that it's a bubble, it will burst. Imagine if somebody knows this information, that when it is going to bust or when it is going to go up, you'll sell all of your assets, everything down to your shoes, and wait for that period and invest and make tons of money and become a billionaire. Nobody knows that.
Right.
People say these things for likes and shares and because they want to be seen and heard in social media. Otherwise, nobody knows. I don't think so as a serious investor. So as a real estate practitioner, I have made 4 investments this year itself. Right? I'm saying this, committing this, saying it on air, that I've invested for. If I knew that, if I was not sure that this market is going to stick, why will I invest? However, you should not be blind in your investments. It's like stock market investing. All the stocks are not, if the market is going up, doesn't mean that all the companies are good to invest.
Right.
Or all the mutual funds are good to invest. Right? So figure out that what is the right fit for yourself and align it with your life goals. I always try and tell clients, suggest clients, advise clients. They're very wise people, wiser than I am. But I always try and say that it should fit in your financial goal, long-term financial goal. Real estate is a big investment.
Right.
It's not a liquid investment.
It is not, contrary to popular belief.
Yes, you can't sell one room out of your house, right? You have to sell the entire property.
Right.
So it is. So one has to be careful about taking the bet. And if you invested in a wrong kind of a property, you might be stuck into it, and then you have to sell it as a distress at a loss. So that's why, and this is where the role of advisor comes. Choose your advisor wisely. I'm not saying it is me who you should be choosing, but whoever is your advisor, right kind of advisor can create a lot of wealth for people.
Well, considering that you have gone on air to say that you are a responsible real estate practitioner, I think what I would really like to know is what are some of the things that people generally miss out in when it comes to real estate fine print? Because fine print in real estate changes fast. So what are some of the things that people should really look out for when they're buying commercial property, when they're buying residential property, or if they're looking to flip? What are some of the things that should be taken into account?
You're putting me in a real spot, but let me try and answer this. It's a very valid question. So I think whatever contract, whatever papers you're signing, try and read that as much as possible.
Read the fine print.
Yes, read the fine print. Sometimes reading the fine print is difficult because the fine print is very elaborate. I'll give you a very quick example. One of my clients, ex-colonel. Now, this guy, he bought a studio through me. When he was going through I told him, can you please go through it? Because I was traveling to UK at that point of time. And he went through it. I said that these are the pages which are important pages. Just go through them. And he found that the amount mentioned, the balance amount, is an off-plan property. So he paid a certain amount, 30%. And there was a certain amount which was balance.
Right.
Leave us out the percentage part. The amount which was mentioned was double.
Interesting.
Right? It was not deliberate.
Just
It was not. It was a clerical mistake.
right.
Right? It took me almost a month to get that rectified. Right? They rectified it. At the back end, everything was correct, but it was just a printing mistake.
But
It
that
was a mistake.
panic, right?
It did cause panic. Right. So that's one. Now, similarly, when you are renting property, let's say you are renting through an agent. Agent might mention that next time when you renew, it'll be through us and you'll again be paying commission. Happens a lot. Right? So you can always clarify that I'll not do that. So whenever you are signing papers, whether it is insurance, see, all asset classes are similar in a lot of ways, right? Insurance papers, fine print, your choosing who will be your stockbroker. Fine prints are always very important, right? Now again, developer, which account is it going into here? There is a law that off-plan properties, amount will be transferred in an escrow account. So you need to be careful that it is transferred. So your broker will, of course, insure. He's supposed to insure, but then as a buyer also, you should be sure that it is going into an escrow account, right? A lot of, I think in general, what I'll suggest is wherever there are critical elements of the pages where the amount is mentioned, where the service is mentioned, service charges, where it is 12, whether it is 12 dirham or 17 dirhams, 18 dirhams, it may matter for a lot of people.
Right.
Right? It's like 50% of difference, right? Also, you should also try and figure out if you can negotiate or a certain deal through the.
Is there leeway to negotiate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I won't elaborate on it, but there is always a leeway, and this is where I was telling you about the patience part of it. This is where I disagree a little bit from you on that conversation part with the clients, that everybody has the same conversation, because during those conversations you understand that, let's say for example, somebody is selling their house in let's say Australia, but that money will come in chunks, right? But this guy wants to buy a house here where he can pay the booking amount for 2%, but he also has to pay 24% in a, let's say, in a 30-day or 60-day period.
Right.
But his money is coming after 90 days.
Right.
Can you take this to, so he'll lose out on that deal. So can you take this to the developer? It's not easy conversation. Developers' first response will be no. But you can always suggest that this guy has a very good profile. Why don't you, if you sell this property to him or her, he might bring in more clients, of a similar profile. And then after some kind of to and fro, the developers do agree. Most of the times, right? The middle managers typically, with all due respect to them, will say no because they're busy. So sometimes you have to raise to the directors,
Right.
or send a message to them.
But those are conversations worth having.
But then as a broker, you should be aware that this can be done.
We've had a very valuable exchange, very educational, and I think we've busted some myths, and we've also given a couple of hot takes, both you and I. So
I hope so.
yeah, no, I'm certain. But I have to ask you the golden question that we ask all of our guests. So, Ritu Kant, tell me, are you a thinker, creator, doer, or decider?
Thinker, creator, doer, decider. Creator.
You're a creator. And why is that?
Because I've dabbled in a lot of ventures,
Uh-huh.
mostly failed, but multiple startups, and also because I don't know, creator is also associated with creative bent of mind as well, because I've written a book as well, published a book. I was part of television where I created multiple shows. By the way, I'm writing a book on real estate.
Oh, lovely.
I don't know how to get into it now. Maybe some other day.
Just a very sneaky little promo for us here at TCDD, exclusive to us.
Yes. So it is on how to create wealth through real estate.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you so much for joining us at TCDD. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.